And welcome everyone to our special session of the Witan Council for Asia, which I believe is timed for the most convenient time zone for our Asian members. We want to particularly acknowledge the Archpriest Norman Bluesold Dato and Reverend Sir Rolando Comon, our leading peace warrior. And we are so happy to have you both actually physically, well, metaphysically here.
Yes, we are so glad also to be here and to be part of the Witan Council meeting.
We are very pleased. What I was going to do, what I've been doing for all the sessions is go through all the points that we've talked about already in all the other sessions, but that have not been talked about necessarily for the people here. And we have 4 agenda points that we will ask you to vote on. And then anything that you want to bring up, you are more than welcome to bring up. And what I've been doing first is I want to say a few words about the Parliament of the World's Religions and about Correllian publishing. So I'm sure you know that we are mounting a mission to the Parliament of the World's Religions in 2023. We're hoping to have as many Correllians attend as possible. And we're hoping to have a presence of international Correllians at the Parliament. We have a group discount for our members to have a less expensive sign-up fee. We're hoping to have shared living accommodations, if possible, that will make it a little bit easier for people to come. Generally speaking, we're going to do everything we can to have as many Correllians as possible. And that's the first thing. The second thing is Correllian publishing. I'm sure that everyone has noticed we've been bringing out a lot of new books. Many of them are old books, but they've been out of print and now they're back. Some are new, and we're hoping to continue doing this. And we are hoping to continue to bring out the Correllian teachings of various kinds, but we're also interested in bringing out works by Correllians, not necessarily by myself or Lady Steph, but also other Correllians. So if you have a book that you're interested in, we can always discuss this. One of the things that we've talked about several times over the weekend is how wonderful it is to have such a diverse tradition with so many skills, so many unique temples and practices that are not all the same. We're all Correllian and we're all individual. And this is the strength, one of the great strengths of our tradition. I know that, for example, in the Philippines, there are things that are specifically done in your temples that might not be done in ours. And that's wonderful. And I love hearing about the Philippine traditions and the Philippine deities and healing and divinatory practices. And, you know, I would never have known these things if it were not for you, our priesthood in the Philippines. And I find this a wonderful development. And the same is true with our people in Africa and our people in South America. It is a wonderful thing to have so many diverse people come together around our common core and yet have our unique identities. With that, we'll bring up the first of the agenda points. So we have been talking about our international clergy fees. And in the past, we have adjusted these for certain countries where we knew there was a need, but we really are looking at adjusting them much more broadly now, because we realize that what is a reasonable cost in the United States is not necessarily reasonable anywhere else. Some places, yes, some places, no. Every place is individual. So we're looking at adopting ways to tailor the clergy fees to different regions. And Lady Laurie, would you like to repeat what you said the other evening on this subject?
I'd be happy to, Lord Don. As Master of Records for the Mother Church, I get a lot of clergy applications. As the Dean of Students and the Dean of Mentors, I interface with a lot of people who qualify to put in a clergy application, but do not because of the cost. For our international students, it is usually an issue of the value of their local currency versus the value of the dollar, or the average living wage in the local country versus what that equates to in the US dollar. So what I'd like to propose to take care of those group of students is that we develop some equitable benchmark, whether it be a minimum wage if the country has a minimum wage, but not all countries do, or the average daily wage, but come up with a benchmark that can be applied around the world, and then put that chart on the Correllian.com applications page so that people can look up their country of origin and see what the equivalent clergy fee would be in US dollars. Now, I realize that there is a currency fluctuation there, but in order for everyone to kind of see what it is, I think it would be good if we had a universal benchmark like the US dollar. The other group of students that are impacted are those that are disabled. They are living on a very limited income and do not have extra money to spend on things like clergy fees. Our dear brother, Reverend Phoenix Williams, came up with an idea when we first discussed this the other day in the first Witan Council of coming up with a way to invest those clergy fees. Instead of charging a fee, we would ask them to perform a service for the tradition. We're always editing books. We're always doing translations. There is always work to do. There is never enough hands to do everything that we want to accomplish. So there's plenty of opportunities, no matter what the disability might be, for a student to assist the tradition instead of paying a clergy fee. As you all know, Lord Phoenix is a mental health counselor, and he's very cognizant of people's self-image, people's own identity of self, and feels like giving the opportunity to perform service would be beneficial versus just waiving the fees. That people would feel like that they had invested in their tradition. So those are the two proposals I'd like to have us consider. If there's any other proposals, I'd love to hear that. I think today we will just be voting on looking at our clergy fees and figuring out how to make them more equitable for our clergy potential applicants around the world, as well as whatever the living situation might be.
So that is a lot of what has been discussed. There was also a suggestion from Reverend Indigo that there would be some people who would be happy to establish scholarships for some clergy fees as well. So as Lady Lori mentioned, what we're wanting to vote on, it's not necessarily the exact way we're going to do it, but making our clergy fees more accessible to people through these various ideas, however we can bring it together most practically. And what we've been doing is we've been asking the voting members to type yes or no into the chat room, and the Reverend Sir Mary is tallying the vote. So if you have any question or comment that you would like to make before we do that, please do so. And then we will have our vote.
Lord Don, if I may,
Mhm.
I would like to say yet again that I am in definite favor of this, and I know that this will definitely open the door for so many people in their clergy path, and it will benefit not only them but also us as a whole. And I have expounded upon that before, so I won't take up a lot of time to put myself on repeat, as it were. But yes, thank you.
Thank you, Lady Elizabeth. So let us have our vote. And oh, yes, Sir Rolando.
Actually, it was a discussion for us here in Luntiang Agama because I know that the Correllian tradition is very generous and very kind to everyone and wanted to reach every people around the world.
Yeah.
So at one point we asked na for me the initiation fee of first degree to third degree, for it's just for me. I don't know to Lord Norman Daito. Lord Norman, you can type in if you agree to what I am saying, okay? Because for me, I am not employed. I embrace totally the being a clergy of Correllian tradition in the Philippines by sharing our culture and tradition. The $50 for first degree, is that correct price? US dollar 50 is affordable for me. So as up to the third degree is of 150, 150. And I don't know if what is the regular wage for the normal Filipino here. I think it's only 500, and the 1 month is up to 10,000 or whatever. But as a Correllian student, we could save up for about a year in order to fulfill that that requirement of paying for our initiation fee. And of course we have to give back to the tradition because I know how it is difficult to organize an organization such big as this. There are so many expenses, no, and the small amount of our initiation fee will contribute for the daily living of the officers of the Correllian shrine, temple or tradition. I think 390 per day in Davao. Because Reverend Norman is in Davao, they are in the province, they have lower rate, so it costs, how many dollars is that? I think $50 a day. No, 390. $10 a day sa kanila. Oh, okay, that's it for me. Flag ceremony.
But
Go
what
back to
I
you,
would
Lord.
envision that we would do is that we would talk to the local leadership as part of this process. And it would be tailored to each region according to what was felt best. And it seems that something is happening where Lord Bluesold is.
Actually, he is in the office. They're having a flag ceremony right now.
I thought that must be what it was. So we'll wait for him to become available. And I have to say, we have always been extremely pleased by the wonderful people we have in the Philippines. It is a point of great joy for us.
Yeah, thank you, Lord, for that.
And I believe it's a very different hour for you at this moment than it is for us.
Actually, at this moment, it's 9:15 in the morning. But sad to say, Lord Norman has job even, I think now is Sunday. I lose my track of dates.
Yes, I believe it would be.
He appears to be back.
Yeah,
Good
it's
morning.
done. Yeah.
So let us go ahead and have our vote on whether we wish to pursue this, not necessarily in terms of exact actions, but whether we wish to pursue generally making clergy fees more accessible. And you can vote yes or no, whatever you feel is appropriate. And I've seen a number of votes go by, but I don't know if everyone has voted.
Lord Norm,
Is there
Lord
energy
Nor,
here?
Lord Norman,
So,
type your vote if you agree to the first agenda on making amendments to the initiation fee.
what a beautiful sky.
Yeah.
And his vote is in.
Very good. The second one that we have on the list has to do generally with accessibility to young people and with building the next generation. One of the things we've been calling attention to again and again during this illustration is how we've been enriched by the young people who've come to us over the years. And that we want to make sure that we have lots of offerings for youth. And of course, this would vary, I imagine, in many different respects, but some of the things that we're talking about were developing materials for pagan parents who homeschool, developing organizations such as the Crystal Cavaliers, who are kind of a Correllian Boy Scout type of thing. And also, well, I mentioned pagan homeschooling. Lady Kai Aiden has worked with some of that, and generally investigating and applying different ideas to increase our accessibility to youth. At one time, we had a very large contingent of young people who have now grown up and taken their places in our leadership. People like Sir Elizabeth, Lady Alyssa, Lord Phoenix, who is not here, for that matter, Lord Jason. All were teenagers when they started with us and grew up in the tradition and eventually took positions of leadership. So we're wanting to reinvigorate that aspect of the tradition. And these were some of the ways that have been discussed and in many cases are already underway. But we wanted to ask the Witan, do you feel this is a way to go? And do you think it is something we should continue to focus on? And Lady Stephanie, is there anything else I should add to that I maybe have forgotten from previous conversations?
Well, you covered it pretty well, and that we truly have always, we recognize that it's the young that's going to attract the young. And Roblay earlier gave great information about Instagram and about TikTok. I don't understand about TikTok or anything about that, but they apparently do. So
in the Spanish language session, this was a major topic.
Yeah.
And as Lady Stephanie has pointed out, Maxine Sims and Roblay Tormenta are going to look into producing material for TikTok and to a lesser extent Instagram, because they feel that TikTok is actually more the way of the future. And generally other ways to raise our profile in the younger generation.
I also brought up about Aisha, all of her wonderful TikTok presentations, that if she would continue doing exactly what she's already doing. And maybe
Yes, indeed.
maybe get together with Roblay and Maxine to maybe see if there's something there that they need to talk about.
Did we lose Aisha?
Yeah.
I don't see her box.
Maybe,
Well, it happens.
yeah,
But yes, one of the things we talked about is that Lady Aisha is already doing this and doing it very well. And that we're talking about expanding, not recreating the wheel.
yes.
So I'm going to ask again if anyone has any further commentary on that, or if you would just like to move to the vote.
I think, yeah, we need to have a presence as a Correllian tradition to these social media sites, because most of the social media, like TikTok, no, is a very powerful tool right now. Though we already have 45,000 followers also in TikTok, and I wish to collaborate also with Lady Calypso.
That would be
Uh,
wonderful.
in order
Yes.
to teach about Correllianism, because right now what we are receiving, there are many groups or group chats that cater young people in teaching witches or Wiccan, no, but
Mhm.
there is a fear that most example, last time that we had this webinar, at the end of the webinar I received complaint about this group. Instead of giving enlightenment or awakening, they spread fear or something
Ooh.
like that. So we really need to stand up to provide them the right information and the correct way of how Wicca should work. No,
Yes.
and
Yes.
people, and the problem here, most of them will say they are eclectic for 10 years, 20 years eclectic. But I don't believe that if you are eclectic for 10 years, you should start up a new tradition already, because for 10 years of practice you have settled up a way of practice. It's not eclectic anymore.
Thank you, Sir Rolando. And what I would like to do is to get you in touch with Roble and Maxine and Aisha, so you can all work together on this project. And so let us. Oh, Lori.
Yes, I just wanted to add, when we're looking at social media platforms, we also need to look at WhatsApp, because that is hugely popular in Africa and India. It's the preferred app over Instagram, TikTok, or even Facebook. So we need to add that one to the list if we're going to provide services to those areas of the world.
Actually, Lady Lori, the WhatsApp is like just what you call that, a messenger. No, although we can post video also, but it's not like YouTube or TikTok that you can browse. But there you have direct transaction with indeed people in Middle East, Saudi Arabia, India, Pakistan, and the rest, no, are more on WhatsApp because they want to communicate. Actually, those people are very lonely. No, they need someone to talk to. That's why they have this application, good for them. So as in Japan, they have this WeChat, no, or Kakao Talk, or there are many other messaging. But the point that I can see is people need to talk, people need to be comforted because of their loneliness and wanted to that's why last year we have done live reading on TikTok where we could talk to them and we could give them advice according to our services that we provide to them.
Very good.
Very nice, yes.
And so with that, I will ask people to render a vote on whether they wish to move forward with this, and generally speaking. And if so, please say yes. If not, please say no.
I believe we are just waiting on, oh, there he is. Never mind.
And so our next agenda point has to do with our grading systems in terms of our clergy teachings. At the school presently, at which school, even though you may have done very well up until the final, if you fail the final, you have to take the entire course over. And we're wanting to change that policy and to make it more accessible to people who might be challenged by certain sorts of tests. There's a feeling that what happens is that sometimes people become nervous or otherwise challenged by the way the final is put together. And so we want to be able to be a little bit more elastic in how we deal with that. Lady Lori, would you like to say anything about that particularly?
Sure. Currently, our policy is that each student must have a 3.0 across the whole program, but also must score a 3.0 on their final exam in the base course, so 101, 201, 301. And what we find, particularly in 101, is that we can have a student that has a very high average on the chapter test, but they choke on the final. This is either due to being choking, or they are in a rush to get done because they're so close to the end that they take the test when they're not truly in shape to take the test. They're not rested and ready and have done the review. And if they do not score a 3.0 on the final exam now, they must repeat the whole base course again. For a first degree, this is 6 months of time. For the other degrees, it's a year of time. So it is a significant impediment to clergy students reaching their goal. What I would like to propose is that we maintain our overall average requirement of 3.0. We maintain our requirement for the final exam of 3.0. But if you do not make that requirement of producing a 3.0 on your final exam, you can take the exam again without having to repeat a whole course. So we're not lowering our standards, we're just giving our students an additional opportunity without it costing them 6 months to a year of their lives.
I believe we also talked about the fact that some students might need a different format for the final.
Right, and we do offer that. We already offer that. Our mentors are very good about looking at grades as they're produced. And usually if someone has a test format issue, it manifests pretty early in the process. It doesn't wait until the final exam to produce. So we do offer essay tests for all of our chapter tests and our final exams. We also have mentors that have done oral exams with students that have a hard time expressing themselves in written word. So we try to meet the student where they are. We're testing them on their knowledge. We're not testing them on their ability to fit into a testing box.
And it also bears mentioning that we are speaking about the policies at our seminary, which will not necessarily what individual temples would do. But most of our clergy do still come through the seminary. Lady Katharina.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I only have one question about this, Lady Mary. If a student retakes the finals for the second time, how many attempts would they be allowed before they'd have to repeat?
That's a good question. I don't think we've discussed that issue, Lady K.
I think that's something we would probably have to think about, because we wouldn't want to, at a certain point, I think it would be necessary that they would need to take that course over. And we're mostly looking at when they failed it once. And we might have a further discussion about that at a later point, once we're actually more ready to implement. So if we have any other questions or comments, if not, let us go ahead and hold the vote whether we wish to look into.
Lord Don, I'm sorry, I have a question. You didn't see my hand up.
No, I did. Oh, no, I didn't. I'm sorry.
I do have a question, and
Yes,
it's kind of personal with this. And to people who don't know me, my name is Janine Deoya. I'm in the middle of taking the second degree right now. And maybe I'm thinking that I should recuse myself from doing this vote. And so it's really up to you guys on if I should do the vote, because I feel like I would have a type of prejudice with the voting right now. So it's up to you.
I trust you.
I believe your voice is important as a student, Reverend Janine. I think you bring a student's perspective. While we all have been through the courses, it's been a while for some of us. So I welcome your student perspective.
Okay, well, thank you, Lori, Reverend Lori.
And you're a person whose insights I have always valued. So we would very much like to have you go ahead and involve yourself with the vote.
Thank you, Lord Don.
Lord Don?
Yes.
So I have a suggestion with that. I know that the course is an average score. Would it be pertinent or possible to include the comprehensive final in that course average as opposed to a separate score that totally lets them fail it?
It is included in the overall course average. It already is.
Okay, so it brings it down that much, so they would fail the. Okay, I understand now. Thank you so much.
Yeah, in 101, the final exam is a two-part final exam. So it is 2/14 of the total score.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
No problem.
Well, let me ask you then, if you favor our going ahead and making adjustments here, please vote yes. And if not, please vote no. And while you're voting, I will repeat a lovely comment that was made that some of you have already heard and others have not. But after the very first of our Witan sessions, the paladin who was facilitating the room, the Reverend Sir Chad Blackman, remarked on how inspiring he found it that we work together so cooperatively. And he remarked on other organizations he's been in where things were nowhere near as cooperative. And as we sit here voting so quietly, I think of organizations I've seen where that just didn't happen. And again, I have to say how proud I am of the members of the Witan. And we have truly lovely people in our tradition. The next item on the agenda is this format itself. The question is, would you like to see the Witan use this format going forward? And the suggestion has been made to do it once a year or possibly twice a year, yet to be decided, using this format either as part of illustration or as a standalone event. Personally, I found it to be very, very nice for us to be able to see and interact this way in a formal session. And of course, I mean, we see and interact with each other in other ways all the time, but I think as a body, it has been a good thing. So does anyone have anything they would like to say on that before we vote? Lady Katharina. By the way, there's a little button you can press that will put a hand up for you.
I haven't been able to find that.
Oh, okay.
I'm not tech savvy. I just wanted to say that I believe, and this is just my opinion, that us meeting in person like this allows us to really unite. I have been a member of this Witan for many, 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 many years, and I have never felt so connected as I have this weekend.
That's wonderful.
I actually feel like I'm ready to cry. I actually feel like I'm part and I belong. I think this is a very, very good thing for many of us.
I'm so glad to hear you say that.
That's beautiful.
I hope you vote yes then.
Yeah, I hope you vote yes then, yes.
Sir Rolando.
I'm pretty
Yes.
sure I will.
Yes, me too. Before we just emailing Lady Katerina, Mama Kay, but now we can see face to face. And thank you for the Correllian tradition that we have been connected, no, and we were able to participate in the Lustration. This is a great blessing, and I think it is a good tool that we could communicate all at once between time and space.
Yes. Oh.
And we really are between time and space in a very literal way. You know, I made the comment during the opening ceremonies that whenever we have moved forward as a tradition, it's almost always involved technology. Technology has been our friend. And being able to come together this way, even though some of us are literally on the other side of the world, is a very moving experience. And I think a very precious experience. In future years, it's going to become even more immediate as technology develops. And we may find ourselves in formats where we appear to be in the same room, which I'm looking forward to because I know it's being worked on. We even have people in the tradition working on it. And when I commented that we have started Correllian City this weekend, in a metaversal sense, I'm quite serious. And I do feel that in its own way, this is a kind of astral travel. And I love being able to see all of you and talk to you just as if we were in the same room. It is delightful.
Get another password.
Well, we haven't used any passwords this
Oh,
weekend.
that's true. I'm kidding. Yes. But wow. That's amazing.
Sir Elizabeth?
Lady Steph,
Yes.
at some point, I would love to help you get organized with your passwords and anybody else who is in need of what is called a password manager. Okay, these things exist. And basically, it's a database for all of your passwords. You only have to put them in once, and then you just have one password to remember. That's it. That's all. Thank you.
You're talking crazy
Oh,
talk.
interesting.
No, I'm not. I'm very serious. I use it all the time at work, or else I would have to remember like 50 different passwords.
I think I shall have to talk to you about this because several of my passwords are things like, I hate passwords. Too many passwords.
Don, I have to say, as for the official record, I hate passwords 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's a very insecure password. You should think about changing that seriously.
The password is password.
Oh,
no,
God.
no, God, no, please.
That's funny.
To tell you how old I am, that makes me think of Alan Ludden and Betty White.
Yes.
So at this point, let us have our vote whether we wish to, in fact, go forward with this format for future Witan meetings. Now, whether it will be once or twice a year remains to be seen. But it will not be every month.
I just love that it's not chat.
Yes.
Oh.
Well, and you know, when that was all we had, that was wonderful. But this is so much better.
It is. I totally agree. This is way much better because I get to see expressions and emphasis on syllables and
personality.
It also helps with those simple text miscommunications where
it is so easy.
You just don't get that expression. I was kidding. I was just kidding. No.
And unlike the 3D chat room we once had, nobody is going to get vertigo.
Yeah.
If anyone has forgotten,
we tried it once. No.
Years ago, our systems were hacked as part of the Great Hacking, and it was a SQL Server injection. Hundreds of websites across the internet went down, and we were one of them. And as we rebuilt, we were trying to make sure we used things that were not susceptible to SQL Server injections. And we ended up with this 3D chat room for Chancellor's Chat. And it was very interesting and made people physically ill because it was too 3D.
Yeah.
And then we have the metaverse. I mean, that stuff like that is what the metaverse is building on. So
yes, absolutely.
So
it was an important technology.
Yeah,
but I'm just as happy that we have this now.
Yes.
And then our last agenda point has to do with expanding our offerings for people who don't necessarily wish to become clergy. And Lady Stephanie, would you like to speak about that for a moment?
All right. Essentially, what I was proposing is that when we enter witch school, or even the tradition, mostly brand new people, that it is very obvious of all the paths that we present to them, so that when they enter in, they see that it's just not clergy. I'm clergy. I love being clergy. I've been clergy like all of you very, very long time. We love clergy, but we have to recognize a little bit, not everyone is like us. So to have the options of people coming in brand new saying, oh, well, look at this. I can maybe be certified as or receive a certificate as a tarot reader or a herbalist, and then have levels for it. Not that every path has to have levels, every path will be different, but just the whole idea that it's very visible to the new person, and that they have options, or they may want to go into one path and go, well, I think I do want to be clergy. And at the same token, that they have that all the clergy information is already there anyway, that everybody can already take all the lessons and not be, not have to be clergy anyway. They can buy the traditions books and read about the tradition. And so I don't think it would take too much, if anything, to make sure that everybody receives that kind of teaching without being clergy. So that's the gist of it.
Lady Katharina?
I'm really glad that this was brought up, because Sacred Light Temple for many years now has been working with its students that don't want to be clergy. So we created a certificate for them within the temple that they finished the degree system, and it's non-clergy. And just that certificate alone empowers them. And some of those students now that opted not to go for clergy are now seeking to become clergy. And that door is open to them. So they've already completed all of the degree work. Now they have to complete the clergy work. And I think that that's something that it was important to them because they were worthy that they had to do the clergy program. No, you do not.
Right.
That is a very important point, that we have many paths for people. They do not have to become clergy. Because we want the people who are right to be clergy to be our clergy people. And we've always felt that the outer court or the general membership was very important. Jason.
Yes.
Right, Reverend Sir Jason.
Well, I mean, way back when, in a galaxy far, far away, when I was helping with programming with Witch School, I helped develop the certificate program, or the certificate. Once you completed a course, you got a certificate that said, you know, congratulations, you completed this course with this grade and at this time. That was part of the thing, was to help empower our students that they completed this course and now they can hang something on the wall. I mean, that's why I did it, because, you know, oh, I've done this course. Now what? I mean, you know, I can't, you know, show it on my wall. I can't, you know, it's, I mean, that's the reasoning behind why I helped create that.
Yes, indeed.
Well, that was a good idea.
Well, unfortunately, we had people passing those certificates off as clergy certificate.
Yes, I understood why they were discontinued, and I understood completely. But I mean, that was the reasoning behind it. That was my purpose, not the other.
Yeah.
Well, we may need to, if we were to return to using certificates of that sort, we might need to be quite explicit that it is not a clergy qualification.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It did not occur to us all those years ago that anyone would do
no. No, I mean, we had two separate, you know, we had two separate I mean, at that time, we were two separate organizations, completely separate organizations, sort of.
Sir Rolando.
Ayan, Lord Don. Because here, as I noticed here, Filipinos here are, like they don't seek to become a clergy, official clergy, but they are seeking titles, such as on becoming a tarot card reader. And there are some who are just expert on paranormal research. Diba? Lord Norman knows that. And they have this certain title that our activity or just a ritualist, but they don't want to take the legal capacity or legal title of being a clergy or take the reverend part. No, can we create some titles that would fit them? And for me, on my experience when I was younger, I was a massage therapist, and it adds up to the credibility of a practitioner if they belong to a certain organization. Like for me, I become a member of Spa Association of the Philippines, and when they learned that, I was easily recommend to teach. No, parang it gives you higher value. And for me here, I know Lady Stephanie has this Global Tarot. Is that correct, Lady Steph? If you have the Global Tarot Association?
Yes.
Ayun. So I think, Lord Blue, we can ask Lady Steph. We could also affiliate our students or our tarot card reader practitioners to become part of the Global Tarot Association, that they may have weight of title, I think. So
Right.
that's it.
Oh, absolutely. But essentially, that is I'm setting it up where it's part of the tradition. So if you start there, you're going to end up with the tradition. If you start there, you might end up with the Global Tarot Association. But it's something that is connected together. But yes, but the whole idea for that was everything. I have everything offered, all the teachings offered for free in there. So if you want to, if you're a beginner, if you're an intermediate, if you're an adept in or a scholar in tarot, and I'm still putting more literature in there as each day goes by. but in the end, it will most likely end up in witch school. So it's that kind of yin and yang right now. The kind of, I mean, that's how the plain shaman started, and the sea priestess. That first it was kind of over on the side, then all of a sudden it meshes into, and then it ends up at witch school. So yeah, but yes, you're absolutely welcome to start there and have fun.
Thank you,
So I
Lady
know that.
Step.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Lady Step.
You're welcome.
I know that Lady Katharina had her hand up, but
Oh.
there's also a question in the chat room I want to read, and then I will get right to you. And Sir Geoffrey is saying that he remembers on his older certificates that they did say they were certificates of completion, and he says he feels that should have been self-evident, but we can be blunter. Some people benefit from being blunt. But he also asks, will this measure be for a separate will this be a separate program like the DOOR program or the Tarot College? And I understand that what we're talking about would be possibly both yes and no. That we are talking about having it at the school, but not necessarily only there.
Right. Yes.
Is that an agreement with everyone's understanding?
Yeah.
And Lady Katharina.
Yes.
I'm a little late on this, but I just wanted to go back to what Jason was saying. On our certificates that we give for the non-clergy, it states right on the certificate that it is a non-clergy certificate. Because I was afraid people would use those in the community to say they were something they weren't. So I made sure that it was placed on there where it would be visible, it wouldn't be hidden by a frame, and that it is a non-clergy certificate. So I think that if we're going to do certificates, that may be something we want to incorporate into those places.
Not non-ordination or something needs to be 100% put on there. I never considered it. I never even, besides certificate of completion, that, you completed the scores. I never thought that I needed to add in
Lady Kay, would you be willing to send us a copy of your certificate?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Who should I send it to, Reverend Don?
You can send it to me, and then I will share it with Lady Lori and Lady Stephanie. And yes, Mike?
I was, because you specifically did lessons of first, second, third degree, right?
Yeah.
And that was what those certificates were about, of first degree, but not a clergy. But does not represent clergy. Okay.
Yeah.
I was only raising that point because if there's a path, like say for herbology, it still might be good to mention that this is not a clerical it's just a certificate of completion.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
No ordination of.
I mean, it would be like maybe, okay, let's say herbology. The first level is beginners. The second level is intermediate. The third level could be masters or adept, or scholar, and or have a title, like someone had very good said that. So say that it's intermediary, but maybe there might be a snazzy title that only Lord Don can help with, because he comes up with these great titles. And so, just thinking about herbology, I'm sure Lord Don right now probably has 3 off the top of his head right now. So yes, but making it clear that it's not clergy, yes. So
we do that within the temple as well, because we teach other things besides Correllian. Because I'm a Reiki master, I'm a chakra therapist. So we offer these other classes that are non-related, but related.
Yes.
It's all part of the work.
Yes, it is.
And so those certificates state exactly what they are for. So,
excellent.
And at what degree they're at. Because like with Reiki, we have the 3 levels of Reiki. With the chakra therapy, we have 7 levels. So each one of those certificates state where you are, what you're certified in, and what exactly it's for.
Very
Yes.
good.
Yes.
Sir Elizabeth.
I love the idea of snazzy titles, and basically, Lady Steph stole the words right out of my mouth. I've been thinking about this overnight because it was raised yesterday that we do need something besides those terms tied to being official clergy, as you had said, Lord Don.
Yes.
And I was thinking, well, you know, what do I see like in books? For example, journeyman. Apprentice. And I'm sure that we can draw from other traditions and things. Like, you know, I love in the FOI Magi. That is
Yeah.
awesome.
We can certainly do that. That's a very good suggestion. And
Always
Sir
literate.
Jason.
Oh, I was just going to say, you know, Magi and titles and things like that from the FOI. I mean, you have several of those titles, so.
Yes. So with this, shall we? Oh, Sir Rolando.
I just want to ask something because in my work here in the Philippines, I used to have an interfaith work with other clergies of different religions, such as with imams, with Christian pastors, and priests. No, and I don't. This question might strengthen also the role of the archpriesthood of Norman Daito here in the Philippines. Na because on some other, for example, they are inviting me to study seminary. I tell them that I'm already a graduate, initiated, ordained clergy of Correllian tradition. No, parang because on their part, they have this bachelor's degree, then they have master's degree and doctorate degree. So with for me, the degree that I have is valid enough to conduct my ministry and not compare and not check my curriculum vitae on my ministry, because what I see on my previous experience with handling those people or dealing with people in an interfaith ministry, there is some sort of questioning my title and my degree program. So they wanted me to empowered by, oh, go come to our seminary and have this blah 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 certain degree. What can you think? What is your reaction about that? It's like I think who's that? It's Cherry Hill Seminary ba yun? It's a pagan seminary that they have bachelor's degree
The
and
Aquarian
master's
Tabernacle
degree.
do that as well.
Yeah.
I think we may want to look into that. I'm not quite sure how difficult it would be to move from here to there. But I think that having that as part of this discussion is quite appropriate. And we have actually been discussing it for some time. So I think what I would say is let us add that to what we're talking about going forward with.
Because on my part here, I'm trying to make a curriculum on our traditional medicine. So I already have a certificate program, and soon I might have released a diploma course. Diploma course. So I'm contemplating on that idea that we could also make that a certificate course, maybe for the shrine worker or tradition worker, but a diploma or higher degree course for the clergy course, something like that. Because within the shrine, we have many responsibilities, or there are many titles or duties, and members could take that part, but not the clergy course, something.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, shall we go ahead and vote whether to move forward on these things, even understanding that some of the details are yet to be worked out, but that we want to move forward. So if you vote yes, please vote yes, and if you vote no, please vote no.
knows?
I have to say it's been very interesting because we've been voting all of these things through 4 sessions of the Witan now, and we've not had a no vote to anything, which is very gratifying.
Very
We are a
agreeable
tradition
people.
of yes.
It makes taking the tally very easy.
It
We are
does.
unanimous in this.
Yes, amazingly. Yes,
I'm
Lady
going to
K.
assume that Sir Jason is making a joke.
I believe that tradition leadership is very compelling that everyone says yes.
Yes, indeed.
So
And-
with that, we have gone through our agenda items. Is there anything that anyone would like to bring up at this time?
I was only kidding when I said no just now.
Thank God.
I gathered that.
Okay.
That's at least your idea.
Thank you for clarifying, Lady Steph, for the
Well,
transcript.
I don't know,
I
it was like
appreciate that.
a legal thing or something. I didn't want
Ah,
Sir Mary thanks you for clarifying.
I guess the only thing that I would add is that I am looking forward to the explosion of people who are going to join because of these things that we are going to be looking at and acting upon. Because, and it's been said before, obviously, there are lots of people who don't want to be clergy for one reason or another, and that's fine.
Yes.
And, we have a robust clergy already. And now we must have a robust and shining outer court in addition to those who are already here. And I'm looking forward to that very much. And I offer my services in whatever way I can to help bring this to fruition.
I mean, in other churches, lay persons, that help out the ministry. I mean, they help strengthen us. I mean, if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have anything to do.
Good point.
This is true. And it is worth saying that everything we have voted on is about increasing our accessibility, increasing our availability to people, which I think has always been one of our greatest priorities.
I just have one more thing, and I'm glad that you said the word accessibility, because it was brought to my attention that at the opening of the weekend, we were lacking in that, and I want to apologize on behalf of the crew that we were not prepared for such an event, and I am open to any and all suggestions in the future as to how we might do better for our deaf members.
Well, I do actually have a couple of pieces of advice for that. On things like Magic TV on YouTube, you can automatically set that you will always have closed captioning, which I believe we are set for. If anyone would like to check independently and make sure we're set for it, but I know that I did set it for that. You can do that on Facebook as well. I don't know about Zoom, however.
You can.
Yes,
my
live
sec-
transcription is
Yes.
enabled for even this meeting. You can
Oh,
see
is
it at
it?
the top of the screen. Yes, I'm
Oh.
reading it now. It says
Yes.
live transcription, closed captioning has been enabled.
And yes,
Nice.
Well,
I
good.
think
Then
what
we
happened
solved
is we
that.
learned how to do this during the weekend. I believe Sir Mary found the setting for that, so we'll know in future. So we have that answer now. And we do. Sir Rolando has mentioned in the chat room that it would be good to create an order for sign language interpreters, which I agree would be good. We have at times had a number of sign language interpreters, of which only one that I know of is still with us, through various things that have happened over the years. But having an order would encourage it and might cause people to come forward who have not thought to do so yet.
I know several people in my temple have taken sign language as an elective at the college. And I think if we could encourage, Lord Bowen is one of them.
And he's using signs.
Patty Parker is another one. So there are usually local options to learn sign language. And if we could encourage folks to take advantage of those options, we'd have plenty of people to create an order.
And so
Very
let us let us make a note of that. I don't know that we need to have a vote on it because we can just say that, yes, we'll do that.
The other thing I
I'd
wanted
say yes
to
anyway.
mention related back to Lady Liz's comment about a robust outer court. As temple heads, we need to do, I think, a better job of getting our temple members registered as outer court. I know there are many, many times I see a first degree application come across my desk and they're not yet a member of the tradition. They never registered for outer court. So I think as mentors, we can encourage people to register as outer court members when they start their clergy journey. I think we also need to include and welcome outer court registration and dedications for people who have no intention of being clergy. I know in my temple, with everything I have on my plate, I cannot write every ritual. I cannot teach every class. And when I started Chosen Path, I told everyone, I can't do this alone. This is going to take everybody. And when we set our calendar for the year, I sit back and I let them take what they want to do. You do not have to be clergy to perform a ritual at Chosen Path Church. You do not have to be Wiccan to perform a ritual at Chosen Path Church. If you have another path that you'd like to share with us, we'd love to explore that with you. So I think all too often we have clergy members that think that they have to do everything in their temple. And this is not healthy for them. It creates burnout, but it also stifles the creativity of the people in the congregation, the outer court members in that temple. So I highly encourage everyone to kind of sit back and think about how they can be more inclusive of their non-clergy members within their physical temples. To look at the talents that they bring to the table and allow them the opportunity to share and shine in those talents.
If I may, in Temple Arcier, the outer court number is their membership number. So if they want to do degrees or any other course, they are known by their outer court number because I want them to register with the tradition, because I don't want any problems if they decide to go clergy later on.
That's a good idea.
Very good.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Very good idea.
Yeah.
Now, at Chosen Path, we're about 50% Correllians. Chosen Path welcomes all paths. So we only have about a 50% hit rate of Correllians registered. We have many people that lead their own traditions that are members of Chosen Path because they enjoy what we do and they enjoy what we provide. But this year, when we set the calendar, I had no study groups to plan. And I only had 2 rituals out of all the Shabbats, out of all the new moons, out of all the full moons. There was only 2 rituals that were not signed up for. So those are the 2 that I took. And that frees me up to do the mentoring, to do the pastoral care, to do the planning for the temple. And it's beautiful to sit back and watch these people grow and blossom and bloom as they get more and more experience behind the altar or in front of a class.
Yes, indeed. So what I would like to do is to go ahead and adjourn the meeting, and then we can continue to talk as long as we like. And so at this time, the meeting is adjourned. We